Stray from the Path just played their final show ever, and I was there to take in that evening. And in this video, I'll describe what it was like experiencing a band's final ever show, knowing it's their last show. It's quite a rare and unusual thing. I still kind of can't believe that they're not going to pop up at a festival next year or something, but according to the band, this is it. They played their last show in Bristol, and it was really quite something. Before I get to Stray from the Path, which I'll talk about in depth later on in this video, there were some support bands on that bill that I do want to say a couple things about. So the other bands were Alpha Wolf, Graphic Nature, and Calva, Louise, who opened the night. Now, Calva, Louise are kind of the odd one out here. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I loved it. So it's largely a hardcore show with Stray, Alpha, and Graphic. Calva, Louise have some harsh moments, right? There's scream vocals to be found within their music. I wouldn't say they're a hardcore band, but it didn't matter. I thought they did a fucking fabulous job. I've seen them once before with Bloodywood in London. First time I'd ever seen them, I was very impressed. So I was looking forward to seeing them again, and they delivered. And I really enjoyed watching a hardcore crowd taking in Calva, Louise, initially like, okay, oh, this is interesting. What is it? Did you see that piano? Just like, it moved, and then it went back. And every time Jess slid her bespoke keyboard that slides out and back, depending on what she needs in a song, you could see people in the crowd looking at their friends like, did you see that? So that was fun. But also just watching them gradually thaw out the confusion of the hardcore fans. And people were grooving along. Because there's often so much groove in their songs. There's complexity quite a bit as well. And there isn't a lot of understandable sing-along moments until you get to know the songs a little bit. So the crowd was largely standing and watching and patiently kind of taking it in. But you could tell they were winning people over. And by the end, people were really enjoying their set. I mean, the quality of the songwriting, the musicianship is pretty high level. And the performance was fabulous. The kind of music they play is not necessarily the easiest to carry off live, but they do. They're all very talented, and they crushed it. I thought it was a great opener by Calva, Louise. Really enjoyed seeing them. And I would say, delicious. Thoroughly enjoyed Calva, Louise. After them was Graphic Nature, a band I've seen live a couple of times thus far. And if you like a bit of hardcore, you're gonna like a bit of Graphic Nature. They delivered. They did a good job. I think it's one of those things, though, that if you don't know any of their songs, then they're going to sound a little bit similar to each other. But if you do know their songs, then it's quite delightful. Now, I know a few of the songs, not tons, but there were moments that I thought the stage performance was maybe a little bit similar from start to finish. There wasn't much of a story arc through them taking the crowd on a journey. They came on stage, they played their songs, they left the stage, largely. A couple of moments when they were chatting to the crowd that stood out, and you get a little bit more of that human connection. For example, they mentioned that Stray from the Path were one of the reasons they started the band in the first place. Like, that's the inspiration level there. So how fucking cool must it have been for them to be playing with Stray from the Path on their last ever tour? Sort of feels like a handing off the baton sort of a moment. So that was pretty cool, and they did a grand job. Genuinely decent. Sound was very good for them, which I think definitely helps. But yeah, it was grand. I enjoyed them. I think part of me just knew what was coming later on. So as decent as they could be, they're not quite on the levels, I think, of the likes of what Alpha Wolf will do or Stray from the Path. So thinking about a rating for them, I'd say it was solid. I think they did a good job. I wasn't mad at it at any point. I also wasn't like, oh my fucking god, you got to see this band. I've seen them be a little bit better, I think, at 2000 Trees. Maybe the crowd was giving them a little bit more at 2000 Trees. The crowd here at Stray, they were kind of almost patiently waiting, saving their energy for what was to come later on, I think. Then it was time for the final support band before Stray were going to hit the stage in Alpha Wolf. Now, I've seen them once before at Download Festival and loved it. I mean, they came with such energy then. So I was expecting to enjoy this. And like, holy shit. Alpha Wolf, just a hurricane hit the stage when they came on stage. They've got to be one of the angriest bands I've ever seen. The absolute force that is their vocalist. is ridiculous. And he's kind of casual and like a man of the people and chilling, but as soon as he's barking at the crowd, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And their sound was huge, immense. I was worried for my ears a little bit. It was so goddamn loud. Yeah, and they played a great collection of songs. Some I knew. Like, I don't know their entire discography, but the ones I did, pretty fucking marvelous. They had, and this is on a Stray gig, they had the biggest wall of death of the night. Like, there's no question. I got some footage of it here.
So anybody new to this is your fucking chance. If you've been thinking about it.
That was unreal. Unreal. You're not catching me in that. I would snap like a twig. No thanks. But yeah, they had the crowd whipped up into a frenzy. That's the ideal warm-up moment pre-Stray from the Path. Alpha Wolf completely understood the assignment and crushed it. They also had a special guest appear. They famously did a kind of collaborative EP with Holding Absence, and the singer from Holding Absence, Lucas, jumped on stage to do one of the songs with them. That was fabulous. Really enjoyed seeing that. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things, to see bands jumping on stage with each other to create something kind of unique on a night. That was awesome. So yeah, Alpha Wolf delivered a fiery, powerful, heavy, angry set. And they're so slick at it. They're a very well-tuned machine at this point, and it was a delight to take them in. And it was delicious. Like, those kinds of performances are rare. It was like, I mean, I said a hurricane. It's more like a fire tornado. It's absolutely insane. And then it was time for the very surreal final show ever of Stray from the Path. I mean, what a fucking band. I first discovered them many years ago, before the Eternal Atomics album. They played Download Festival, and I check out every band on the festival lineup before I go, so I discovered them that way. And I was like, this is cool. Sounds kind of like Rage Against the Machine, but it's like angrier somehow. And been following their career since, and seen them several times. And every time I've been really impressed. Each musician in that band, plus the vocalist, is kind of top tier. So when you have that combination together, that way lies only incredible live shows, really. And the energy that's packed into those songs, the great kind of flagship moments. There's so many like signature moments in songs, and this is kind of highlighted, but at some point in the Alpha Wolf set, the drummer, while the vocalist was chatting to the crowd, the drummer was playing various drum parts that Craig Reynolds wrote in Stray from the Path, and each one of them was super recognizable. That's really impressive. Same thing can be said of Tom. There are iconic guitar riffs. I mean, the song Fortune Teller is a guitar riff that the crowd sings along. Like, that is gifted songwriting. You know, these are very talented people. There's also great call-outs, of course, from Drew in some of the songs as well, right? That's a bit of a specialty of theirs too. So I was looking forward to a great gig, but every single time they would play a song that I know and love, it's like consciously watching that thinking, this is the last time we're going to hear this like this at this volume. And it's a really strange thing. It does help you kind of soak it in a little bit more. You savor each moment. You savor the last chorus of a song that you love as you're hearing it. And it's kind of special, but sort of heartbreaking as well. This is a band that is totally underappreciated. As much as they are being appreciated, finally now, really, they're starting to get their flowers because people realize that this is their last go-around. But they should have been so much bigger than they ended up being. Because of the talent, because of the songwriting and the live performances, they just take no prisoners and do amazing things. I have to just only assume because of their political messaging in their songs, maybe that's hampered their growth somehow. I don't know. It doesn't really make that much sense to me, but very cool to have had this final tour where every member of every audience, I'm sure, is there, just giving them everything to kind of say thanks, essentially, for the fucking amazing music we've been able to enjoy from these folks. And it's quite a thing to go out intentionally as a band at this point, right? Like, our memories of Stray from the Path will not be of them having fallen off later on in years, right? Anytime we think of Stray from the Path now, we'll be thinking about them in their prime, because that's how they left. That's kind of fucking amazing. That's cool. It's also sad, like, I'm sure if they came out with another album, I'd love it. Like, there's future music that we will not have because they've stopped. That would have been fucking sick. But it's their call, it's their choice, and they seem very comfortable with it. They seem very relaxed by the situation on stage. There were no tears. They were just kind of like, cool, yeah, we did it. There we go. Enjoy. This has been fun. Take care of yourselves. You know? It was really surprisingly relaxed. But it was nice at the very end, like when they finished their last song, they didn't just rush off stage. Well, Drew went off stage pretty quick, but like Tom was there eyeballing as many people in the crowd as he could to say thanks, kind of in a personal way. Craig Reynolds maybe threw out a dozen drumsticks over the course of about 10 minutes. Like, he really took his time, which was cool. He also folded up the set list into a paper airplane. And he had some other guy throw it in the crowd. And he shouted, "But Dad!" So it's cool. You could see as well in the sides of the stage, there were people of different generations there. People had probably flown over from the States to see their family members play their final show in the band, Straight from the Path. So it was a very wholesome sort of environment for what is a very angry band. And it was a tough job, really, to do a set list for this one, because they've got the new album, Clockwork. This is the tour, essentially, for that. And they played a smattering of songs off that, but they also played a bunch of big bangers from the other albums as well, which are thoroughly enjoyed by the crowd. And the crowd was great. They gave it all the energy that they could. There were fucking tons of crowd surfers. My goodness. I really enjoyed how Drew was like, first of all, shout out to these amazing security guys. They're looking after you. And I was like, oh, that's nice. It's a nice moment. And now he's like, now I need 300 crowd surfers. And the security's like, oh, fuck. Well, he's thanked us, so now we have to like deal with this in a nice way. No, like, it seemed like it was a great crowd all around. Everyone in that venue was on the level and chill and, energetic. It was, there was no real animosity. It was a very supportive place to go wild and mosh for a brilliant band. Now, there's a small skeptic in me that doesn't really believe that's the last show. How could it be? They have something special here. I have to imagine and hope, to be honest, maybe this is just hopium, that they'll do the occasional, like, one-off festival appearance in a few years or something, right? Like, you can't just put to bed these amazing songs and those amazing live performances they can put together forever. You can't do it, surely. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds there? But on the likely, according to them, and off chance that this is it, truly, truly it, then you got to be there. So I was willing to make the journey to Bristol. I mean, I'm based in London. I should have gone to the London show, right? At the Forum. I'm sure it's a fucking great gig. But their last show ended up being in Bristol. So my brother and I drove the 3 hours or so to check that out. And then we left at like 11 and drove back to London. Got home at 1:45 or something. So, yeah, but worth it. These are rare moments. And our philosophy, me and my brothers, is always like, if you like a band, if you like whatever album that they've just come out with, you fucking go see them. Because those moments don't happen again, even if it's not the band's last ever gig. An album tour will have a collection of the set list that is largely from the most recent album, and they'll never do that again in that same way. And as much as, I love music in all forms, and I love being able to repeat listen to songs on records, but there's some kind of magic about live shows. So, totally worth the journey. Totally worth every gig I've seen of Straight from the Path. They are always fucking awesome. And I'm both pleased for them. This is what they want to do. Like, how cool to take it in your own hands. The end was the banner in the back of the stage. Is the end to my end is my controls from Fortune Teller, I think is the lyrics of that one. And that's a powerful thing. To decide your own closing chapter. Amazing to witness. Great sets by all the bands, really. Of course, I mean, even if I didn't think it was that good a gig, I'd be like, masterpiece. It's fucking Straight from the Past last gig. But yeah, it was incredibly impressive. They got up there. They just fucking nailed their set, as they've done forever. Had some cool moments, chatting to the crowd, marking the occasion. And yeah, really impressive. I'm also like genuinely a bit sad that, unless he's going to do this at drum shows or something, but like Craig Reynolds is one of my favorite drummers in the world. The way he writes his drum parts is so fucking satisfying, creative, and interesting. And yet there's technicality baked into there. It's tricky. I'll get on the drum kit after hearing one of their songs and be like, I can play that. And I'm like, oh, I can't. Actually, why is he done? That's a tricky coordination he's put in there. So it was kind of sad to see him perform these songs for the last time, these iconic fucking beats. But totally worth it. Totally worth it. And I wish them the best of luck at whatever they're going to do next. They're too good at making music to stop here. So I'm sure there'll be some future projects. But I don't know. I don't know the band at all. But all the best to them. What a send-off. What a last show. So cool to have been there. Surreal. But the music scene will move on. There'll be other gigs coming up in future. So if you enjoyed this and you want to see reviews for other gigs in future that I go to, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I go to gigs as often as I possibly can, and there's plenty coming up. There's a couple to go this year, but also there's lots lined up next year as well. So hopefully you'll come back for another one of these videos very soon.
Yo, Bristol.